Very good evening to you and a warm welcome to the program Galaxy Prime. It is such a pleasure to be in your company. To all of viewers across the continent, we're on channel 500 on StarSat. I'm Audrey Chimwanda Twala will take you through the top stories of the day from South Africa and across the continent. In our top story at this hour, it's just gone after 6 p.m. President Cyril Ramaphosa has paid tribute to struggle stalwart George Bizos, saying he always stood for what was right, regardless of the cost. Ramaphosa spoke at Bizos' funeral, which was held at the Greek Orthodox Church in Johannesburg today. Ramaphosa said the country owed it to Bizos' legacy to finish what he started and to lay bare the injustices that occurred under apartheid. Ramaphosa declared the status of the funeral last week as a tribute to the freedom fighter. Several speakers took to the podium today during the service. They told short stories about Bizos. His son, Alexia, who for a few minutes struggled to hold back tears, detailed how his father had always been a selfless man and that the family could have never disagreed to sharing his funeral with the nation. Nicholas Bizos said his grandfather will be remembered as a man who never had an ambition for fame, material positions during his time alive. The Monetary Policy Committee has decided to hold the repo rate at 3.5% with effect from the 18th of September 2020. The Reserve Bank Governor Lesetja Kganyago made the announcement during a media briefing today in the afternoon. The bank has reduced the rate by 300 basis points so far this year in an effort to promote growth amid an economy that is suffering under the effects of the COVID-19 lockdown. The governor says global and local inflation is in check while oil prices are stable, and all that remains is for the country to rebuild itself. The governor says that there is a number of positive factors having an effect on the local economy. He says the overall risks to the inflation outlook at this time appear to be balanced. The global producer price and food inflation have bottomed out. All prices remain low and local food price inflation is expected to remain contained. He further said the country still has a long way to go.
Barring risks outlined earlier, inflation is expected to be well contained over the medium term, remaining below but close to the midpoint in 2021 and 2022. Against this backdrop, the MPC decided to keep rates unchanged at 3.5% per annum. Two members of the committee preferred a 25 basis point cut, and 3 members preferred to hold rates at the current level. The implied policy rate path of the quarterly projection model indicates no further repo rate cuts in the near term and 2 rate increases in the third and fourth quarters of 2021.
8 members of the ruling African National Congress who led a delegation to Zimbabwe last week and in the process used the National Defence Force resources could be gripped with the long arm of the law if the Democratic Alliance have anything to do with it. This comes after the Shadow Minister of Defence for the DA laid criminal charges against the Minister of Social Development, Lindiwe Zulu, the Secretary General, Ace Magashule, Nomvula Mokonyane, Tony Yengeni, and the Minister of Defence and Military Veterans, Nosivio Mapisa Nkula, Inogondone and Dr. Likhwete and the ANC chairperson, Gwede Mantashe. Magashule, who upon the delegation's arrival back to South Africa had denied that the party had abused state resources by chartering a military plane, was later forced to admit that the ANC had not done the right thing. The ruling party has vowed to repay government for costs incurred during this trip. Marai argued that while the reimbursement was a positive note, it would not mitigate legal consequences for breaking down lockdown regulations. South Africa will be soon moving to a lighter level of lockdown, as confirmed by President Cyril Ramaphosa last night during the national address. The latest announcement, which is to be followed by numerous regulatory reprieves, comes after almost 6 months of varying lockdown levels since late March. The move to level 1 lockdown, supported by the National Coronavirus Command Council and the Health Minister Zweli Mkhize, is a result of South Africa's dwindling caseload, with medical experts deeming the surge to have been surpassed in mid-August. The danger of a second wave of infections still remains, and as such, the government will not be taking the country back to normal just yet. Major changes announced by President Ramaphosa include the lightening of the nighttime curfew, the opening up of international travel, albeit with strict measures in place, and an increased operation of hours of liquor outlets. The Department of Basic Education has issued a circular stipulating a new promotion requirements for grade 10 and 11 learners in 2020. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent lockdown, the promotion requirements for grade 10 and 11 learners have been revised. The proposed promotion requirements are an interim in nature and will only apply for the year 2020. The additional loss of teaching time due to the rotational attendance, COVID-19 infections, and the additional 4-week closure has resulted in a variable completion of the annual teaching plan, and so a new plan has been developed. The 2020 promotional requirements for grade 10 and 11 are as follows. The current 25% weighting of school-based assessment has increased to 60%, and the examination component, which is currently 75%, is decreased to 40%, resulting in a 60-40 ratio, where opposed to the current 25 to 75. The full-scale examination in grade 10 and 11 will be replaced by controlled tests. The duration of the grade 11 controlled tests will be 2 hours, containing components of both papers where applicable, while the duration of grade 10 controlled tests will be 1 hour, containing components of both papers where applicable. There will be no common examinations or tests to be administered in grade 10 and 11. Well, it's the end of the road for ANC's Andile Lungisa, who has finally returned to a jail cell some 4 years after committing his initial offence. The ANC member will spend the next 2 years in jail after he handed himself over to the authorities on Thursday today. Despite protesting his innocence, the ruling party's mainstay will serve the remainder of a prison sentence handed down to him 3 years ago. Lungisa ended up embroiled in a fight during a session of regional parliament in the Nelson Mandela Bay. He smashed a glass of jug over the head of a dear councillor, Rano Keza. The footage from the altercation shocked South Africa in a former damning case against the ANC representative. Earlier on today, it was revealed that Lungisa had made a last-ditch bid to try and avoid going to prison. He had written to the Constitutional Court explaining why he was simply not suited to prison life. His reaction has been widely panned by critics, but his appeal will be heard in due course. Facing a 12 o'clock deadline to turn himself in, we saw Andile this afternoon, recently suspended from any party activities of the African National Congress, eventually complying to the court order and handing himself over to the authorities. And we go to the court cases now. 4 people responsible for the kidnapping of a 6-year-old girl pleaded guilty to kidnapping and attempted extortion today. The former teacher who orchestrated the kidnapping of a 6-year-old girl in Vanderbijl Park in Gauteng has pleaded guilty along with her 3 accomplices and is now set to spend 10 years behind bars. Tarina Human, the ringleader of the group, was swiftly sentenced to 10 years behind bars for kidnapping and attempted extortion, with her co-accused also landing hefty sentences at the High Court in Palm Ridge. The court heard on Thursday how a 28-year-old human masterminded the abduction in a bid to try and extort the young girl's parents, with whom she was acquainted of 2 million rand. She said that she wanted to use the money to get herself out of financial difficulties, specifically to pay off drug dealers to whom she was in debt. The girl was snatched from her parents outside the gates of a school, and then she was quickly driven away in a white Toyota Fortuner. Human and her accomplices were arrested shortly after the incident, and police then scoured the area and its surroundings for the young girl during an intelligence-driven operation, and thankfully she was found by a couple returning home from a nearby pub. Human and her accomplices were arrested shortly after the incident, and Human was sentenced to 15 years with 5 years suspended. The two co-accused, 40-year-old Letitia Nell, has been sentenced to 8 years with 3 years suspended. Taking a look at regional news now, we go to Mozambique, where an army has condemned the apparent execution of a naked woman by men wearing military uniforms, as shown in video footage that we have decided not to show today. She's seen beaten with a stick before being shot in the back as she tries to flee. In the unverified footage, which circulated from Monday, the group taunt the woman, referring to her as Al-Shabaab, a local term for an Islamist insurgent group that has been operating in the northernmost province of Cabo Delgado since 2017, with no known link to the Somali group of the same name. One hits her head and her body with a stick before others shoot, and they say in the video that they kill her on the side of the road. In a statement released late on Monday, the army engaged in a battle with insurgents in the province, also home to the blockbuster gas projects being developed by oil majors like Total. They said it considered the images shocking and horrifying, and above all condemnable. The footage comes amid allegations of abuses by government soldiers in Cabo Delgado after an escalation in the insurgency, which saw the capture of a key port town in August. And the security forces' response reports and videos of beatings of other abuses have become increasingly common. 7 of 219 prisoners who escaped from a singular prison in northeastern Uganda have been captured. The prisoners shot and killed a soldier who tried to intercept them before heading for Mount Moroto on Wednesday afternoon. Prison service spokesperson says they had deployed 3 helicopters and soldiers on foot to pursue the fugitives. 2 of them have been shot dead. The escapees are thought to be trying to use mountain routes to cross the border into Kenya. The prison facility, usually with a population of over 600 inmates, has been put under lockdown as investigations into how the jailbreak happened get underway. The army has released a picture of their hunt of the escapees. Well, Nigerian traders are accusing local authorities in Ghana of discrimination after many had their shops closed in the thick of COVID-19 pandemic that sees a year-long trade war that's being waged between Ghanaian natives and foreign business owners over the control of the local retail trade in the capital city, Accra. Here's a report.
Nigerian traders are accusing local authorities in Ghana of discrimination after many had their shops closed in the thick of the COVID-19 pandemic, amidst a year-long trade war between Ghanaian natives and foreign business owners over control of retail in Accra.
We have family here. We pay our taxes here. We pay house rent. We take care of our family. Okay, now the shop has closed. How would you expect us to take care of our responsibility? I don't know what is the problem. What have we done to them? The problem we have here is only we are Nigerian. Other foreigners are here doing their business successful.
Ghana Investment Promotion Center laws prohibit foreigners from getting involved in the retail sector without having first invested at least $1 million. and the Ghana Union of Traders Association has been lobbying for its implementation since 2019.
It's a shame to Africa fighting among ourselves. It's quite a shame. How can people from other regions take us seriously when we have rules we cannot obey it, when we have protocol we cannot follow it? How can we relate with other people outside this bloc? They will not take us seriously.
The investment requirement does not apply to non-Ghanaians from ECOWAS states.
So if we're doing a regional bloc, you have countries having trade disputes or trade misunderstanding, what have you, barriers and issues, then of course there's a need to, as I said earlier, you need to work on every minor issue, because continental free trade is about volumes of export. And so if at the end of the day, even Nigeria is not a member state yet, it's ratified. Okay, they are now building, they are taking into consideration every bit of some of these issues before they ratify.
This ongoing trade war, that some may view as an insignificant issue, could affect the future of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement.
There's a new trend that is brewing in Uganda amongst the younger generation that can be found in an aroma-filled cup of cappuccino or espresso. Indeed, despite being the second largest coffee producer on the African continent, Ugandans have been typically tea drinkers. However, today's cultural times are seeing the rise of coffee bars in Kampala.
The younger generation that can be found in an aroma-filled cup of cappuccino or espresso. Despite being the second largest coffee producer on the African continent, Ugandans have been typically tea drinkers. However, today's cultural times are seeing the rise of coffee bars in Kampala.
For Ugandans, it's just a matter of introducing it to them in a way that's relatable, for them to appreciate it in different ways.
As Ugandans historically have not been avid consumers of coffee, the nation's coffee export industry is impressive, with over 500,000 farmers in the country dependent on local coffee production. According to the Uganda Coffee Development Authority, coffee exports increased by 17% to 4.17 million 60-kilogram bags between 2015 and 2018. And a government report from May this year showed that the value of coffee exports increased by 18% to over $416 million.
Traditional coffee in Uganda was regarded as a white man's product and also a rich man's product at the same time. Because of the past methods or past experiences we had from our colonialists like the British.
Looking to develop the domestic coffee industry in Uganda, Katabazi is using the kiosk model to scale up local consumption. His academy, via which he trains a new generation of barristers at his shop, is expected to create jobs and enable trained graduates to set up their own shops across the country.
We see a lot of people exporting coffee from Uganda because people don't take coffee. But as we baristas who have trained, we are here to inspire people, make the good products for the people so that they can get and love and call others for the coffee products.
In these times of global economic COVID-19 upsets, Uganda, which earns huge sums from coffee exports, might do well to breathe life into its domestic market.
Well, it appears Akon doesn't want to be lonely anymore. He has built Akon City. It's a futuristic Pan-African city that is named after himself. It is envisioned by the Senegalese-American hip-hop and R&B recording artist. It is officially underway. Located in Mbodieni in Senegal, some 100 kilometers from the capital, the Grammy-nominated star intends for this project to provide much-needed jobs to the Senegalese and to serve as home to people of African ancestry that are in the diaspora who feel out of place due to racial injustice that they face outside the motherland. Here's a report.
Futuristic Pan-African city, named after and envisioned by Senegalese-American hip-hop R&B recording artist Akon, is officially underway. Located in Mbodiene, Senegal, some 100 kilometers from the capital, the Grammy-nominated star intends for this project to provide much-needed jobs to the Senegalese and serve as a home to the people of African ancestry in the diaspora who feel out of place due to racial injustice outside the motherland.
So I wanted to build a city or a project like this that will give them the motivation to know that there is a home back home. And it's something that they can relate to, that they're familiar with. And it's something that they don't have to fear. And they also have a choice. Because the system back home treats them unfairly in so many different ways that you can never imagine. And they only go through it because they feel that there's no other way.
C'est comme ça que nous montrons, nous, en Afrique.
This is how we show ourselves in Africa, that while COVID-19 makes all the countries of the world doubt the confidence they have in their economies during this time, a Senegalese, an investor, who could stay in the United States all his life, decides to come and invest in his country. Celebratory kickoff indeed, as the first phase of the $6 billion project, a third already secured, will begin in 2021.
When this project came about, it was actually before the movie. But when the movie came, it almost was like a blessing. It's almost like God allowed this movie to be successful, for me to be compared to such success, to give people that mind state that this could be possible in Africa. And it also motivated us too when we were creating the city from an architectural standpoint, that it has to feel and it has to be futuristic.
The surrealist African-inspired designs and impressive technological developments of Akon City are reminiscent of Wakanda to many. A huge honor for Akon, especially after having just lost the beloved Black Panther hero, Chadwick Boseman.
A look at international news now. Yoshihide Suga has been elected Japan's new prime minister, following a vote in the country's parliament on Wednesday, confirming the former cardboard factory worker and farmer's son as the leader of the world's third largest economy. The 71-year-old head of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party replaces outgoing leader Shinzo Abe. Japan's longest-serving prime minister, who announced recently his intention to resign in August due to health problems related to colitis. It is a non-curable inflammatory bowel disease that he was able to manage for most of his tenure. Suga was elected LDP leader on Monday with about 70% of the votes, but he still required the backing of the country's national legislature, the Diet, before he could officially become the prime minister. He won the Diet vote with 314 out of 465 votes in the lower house and 142 out of 240 votes in the upper chamber. And shortly after confirming that the new prime minister was announced, he also announced his cabinet lineup, which included a large number of former Abe's appointees that is likely to promote the impression of stability and continuity between the two leaders. And that's a break, beg your pardon. I seem to be running out of breath here on Galaxy Prime. Perhaps I need a glass of water, just like the rest of you that are watching. Let's take a break on Galaxy Prime. We'll be back with the second half hour of the program as we continue to give you more news and updates. We'll analyze one of our top stories today with the MPC that has been changed. The repo rate remains the same, as we heard from the governor of the South African Reserve Bank today. We'll get to analyze that with an economic analyst, what that means for the man on the ground. So do stay with us.
Feel the heat.
I love Adam Selman.
The girls are really thin. I think it looks very glamorous from the outside.
The life of a model in New York City.
There is such cool prints. So many.
You know, I'm buying this.
Look at me and all the selfie sort of thing. Honestly, I didn't really know that was actually a job. It just didn't occur to me.
Congratulations. Feel the excitement. Feel the heat with StarSat. Feel the heat
You said you love me. I do.
Sure.
Yeah. Leave my house and you go. Oh no, you don't! Get out of my way! Get out!
That is an abomination.
All the love you promised me.
Do you have a boyfriend? Yeah?
Feel the excitement.
You don't know how I've been longing for this.
Feel the heat with StarSat.
Tech Talk brought to you by Tamani Technologies and Systems. Tamani Technologies and Systems takes leadership in fourth industrial revolution. The whole world is facing a transformation. The revolution will be developed into the following stages: digitization, cyber security, Internet of Things, managed services, document management, and business applications. We provide business transformation and ICT solutions with presence in 13 African countries and 2 European countries. We are your leading partner in integrated platform providers, innovation leaders,